Hi friends, I am Narendra. Today we are discussing about the continental drift theory, which was the most important concept in the geography, which was useful for the all competitive examinations, which is continental drift theory. The continental drift theory explains about the formation of first order relief features of the earth. First order relief features of the earth. It explains about how the first order relief features of the earth are formed. It is explain evolution of the first order relief features of the earth, or the basic order of the relief features of the earth, which are continents and oceans. These are the basic features and the first order relief features on the surface of the earth. The continental drift theory deals with the formation of these two, the continents and the oceans. This theory was earlier given by the continental drift theory was earlier given by this continental drift theory earlierly given by Antonio Snyder and later it was again given by F.B. Taylor has given this continental drift theory as the horizontal displacement. Horizontal displacement of continents. He was given the concept of the continental drift theory as the F.B. Taylor has given as the earlier horizontal displacement of the continents. But later, this concept is formally later given by the professor in meteorology. He was a professor in meteorology, Professor Alfred Wegener. He was a meteorologist. Though he was the meteorologist, he given the concept of the continental drift theory. What is the work of the meteorologist? Meteorology. If you know what is the meteorology? Meteorology means the studying of the atmosphere or the climate or the weather of a certain geographical conditions or certain geographical areas. He was the one who Alfred Wegener was the one who was a meteorologist who is studying about the atmosphere or the climate or the weather of the certain places. He wants to know, the Wegener wants to know, and many other scientists wants to know the past history of Earth's climate. He wants to know history of the Earth's climate. So that's why in the process of knowing the history of the Earth's climate, past history of the Earth's climate, he developed the concept of the continental drift theory. So the first concept, continental drift theory, was given by Antonio Snyder, and later in some ways it was developed by F.B. Taylor as the horizontal displacement of the continents, and later the proper theory was given by the Professor Alfred Wegener as he was the meteorologist, as he wants to know the history of our Earth's climate. And there are so many scientists who wants to know some curious questions regarding this. Because there was the appearing of the coal deposits in the European countries such as England, Sweden, Norway. In these areas they find the coal deposits. So they wants to know how they are deposited there, and there are so many glacial evidences found in the same glacial evidences like South America, Africa, Peninsular India, Australia. These all areas are finding the same glacier evidences. So these all are the questions are the given the rise to the tetrahedral hypothesis, continental theory, and the sea floor spreading theory. And these all the theories are the came into existence due to the some of the curious questions. So here the Alfred Wegener also founded the same type of the doubts in his mind. So it began to the origin of the continental drift theory. The continental drift theory was explained by the Wagner. Wagner written a book. He was a German. Wagner was a German. So he written this. Wagner was a German. He written book Die Entstehung der Kontinente and Oceanic. This is the book which was written by the Wagner. In this book, he explains about the continental drift theory. The name of the title of the book is the Die Entstehung der Kontinente and Oceanic. It was in the German language. In the German language. This book is written in the year of the 1912. But this theory came into existence in the 1924 because it was in the German language. It didn't understand by the any other scholars. Later it was translated in the year 1922 into the English language. Due to the world wars, after the completion of the First World War, then only it is translated because there was the better competition between the English and the German at the time during the First World War. After the completion of the First World War, the book is translated into the English language. Then only it came into light in the 1924. The continental drift theory came into light in the 1924. Then only it came into light. So here in this theory, he made some ideas. The Wagner made some 2 or 3 basic ideas. What are the ideas? Let's go through the ideas. The continental drift theory. About the continental drift theory. About the continental drift theory, the Wagner said that he explains some concepts. He explains the forces. First, he concentrated on the forces. The forces which are responsible for this drifting of the continents, the moving of the continents, is explained by the forces. Is caused due to the forces. He explained the 2 forces. One is the tidal force, and the second one is the gravitational differential gravitational force, and along with this the force of buoyancy. He explains about the Wagner, the continents are drifting due to the 2 forces. One is the tidal force and the second one is the differential gravitational force. The tidal force, which useful for the westward movement of the South America and Northern America. The tidal force is useful for tidal force was the reason the drifting of the Northern America and the Southern America, and the differential gravitational force, which was the equatorial movement of the subcontinents. Let's go through then only we understand what are the tidal force, what are the gravitational force. Let's see the movement of these continents, drifting of these continents. In the first phase, according to Wagner, there was a huge landmass on the surface of the earth. there was a huge landmass on the surface of the earth. This was, according to Narendra, this was the named as the Pangea. This was named after Pangea, and this super landmass or the supercontinent is surrounded by a water body. It was surrounded by a water body. This water body is known as the Panthalassa. This, according to Wagner, in the starting era there was the supercontinent which is named after Pangea, and which is surrounded by a super ocean which is called as the Panthalassa. So the Panthalassa was the primitive form of what is the right now ocean. It is the primitive form of Pacific Ocean. It is the primitive form of the Pacific Ocean. Actually, the Panthalassa was the primitive form of the Pacific Ocean. The primary form of the Pacific Ocean is the Panthalassa. So after during the time of the Carboniferous, here Wagner did not discuss about the Precambrian period or the Cambrian period. Only he explains about the Carboniferous period. Carboniferous period means where the carbon means coal deposits, carbon or the coal deposits are formed in that era. That is explains about the Carboniferous period. Wagner taken the reference Carboniferous as the breaking of these continents for the reference. Why? Because he wants to know how the coal deposits are formed in that European countries. So he taken the reference as the Carboniferous period as the reference area. And now, after few years ago, in the long time back, the Pangea is broken. In the Carboniferous period, the Pangea is broken into the two super land masses. This land masses is divided into the this Pangea is supercontinent is divided into the two parts. One is the Laurasia and the second one is the Gondwana. And Laurasia has other name, that is Angara. And here this ocean, super ocean is in the primal state it was the Panthalassa. Here in between these two continents there was a new sea emerged, which is the Tethys Sea. This phenomena we can call as the origin of Tethys Sea. In this phase we can call this is as the origin of the Tethys Sea. And then in the next phase, after forming of the Laurasia and the Gondwana, again this Laurasia was broken into the two super continents, like it was the Laurasia which is broken into the two super masses. One is the North America and the other one is the other landmass is the Asia or the Eurasia, because it contains Europe and Asia. And the next one is the Gondwana land, which is the southern part of the Pangea. The Gondwana is broken into the some pieces. So the Laurasia is divided into the two land masses. One is the North America, other one is the Eurasia. The Gondwana land is divided into the different types of the different parts of the continents. One is the South America, Africa, Peninsular India, Australia, and Antarctica. So, according to Wagner, there was in the first in the Carboniferous time, before to the Carboniferous, there was the huge landmass which was located at the south pole of the south pole. What it is the Earth? It is the south pole of the Earth. It is the north pole of the Earth. According to Wagner, during the Carboniferous time, the total Pangea landmass was present here, and this was the super ocean. It was a super ocean, and during the time of the Carboniferous time, the breaking has started. The breaking of the continents has started, and it is formed to the Pangea is divided into the two parts. One is the Laurasia, and the second one is the Gondwana land. And at this time, the middle part of the middle area of this become the Tethys Sea, which become the origin of the Tethys Sea, and the later part, the Laurasia is again divided into the North America and Eurasia. This Gondwana land again divided into the some of the continents which are present in the southern hemisphere, which are South America, Africa, and the Peninsular India, Australia, and the Antarctica. In the later part, according to the Wagner, here he explained the forces how they are. We are explained earlier the two forces. One is the tidal force, another one is the tidal force. The other one is the tidal. The second one is the gravitational force. Tidal force and the gravitational force. How these are applied according to Wagner? How these are applied in this process? The tidal force which caused for the westward movement of the Northern America and the Southern America after breaking of the huge land masses, the drifting of the Northern America and the South America towards the westwards is due to the tidal forces. Because why? Because the tidal forces during the time of when the sun and moon come near to the earth, when the sun and moon come to the earth, when the sun and the moon when these two are coming near to the earth, there was a huge tides we observe in the oceans. These forces are the cause for the westward movement of the North America and the South America. And again, gravitational force is the one which is the equatorial movement. Equatorial means it was the equator which is passes through the middle of the earth. This is the equator. These continents, Africa and in Peninsular India and Australia, these are the moving towards the northward or the equator world. This is caused due to the gravitational force or the force of buoyancy. These phenomena in the physics, the force of phenomena is in the physics, which is the cause for the movement of the equatorward movement of these Gondwana continental land masses. So here, why these are drifting? Again, Wagner says that a phenomenon which is based on the Edward Suyas, he's taken the Edward Suyas as well. Edward Schwartz explains the interior of the earth as the this is as the crust of the earth, and there was according to Edward Schwartz. According to Edward Schwartz, there was a three layers in the earth's interior. The first one is the crust, and the second one is the mantle, and the third one is the core. The upper layer part of the earth is the crust, and the middle part of the earth's layer is the mantle. The lower part of the center part of the earth is the core. According to Edward Schwartz, the crust is the made up of the silica and the aluminium. Silica and the aluminium. These are the minerals which are found in the upper layer or the topmost layer or the crust layer of the earth. So Edward Schwartz called this as the seal. And the next mantle. Mantle is made up of the silica and the magnesium. Silica and the magnesium. So that's why he called the mantle as the sema. And the core is made up of the nickel, glass, iron. So he called this is as the nife or the knife. So Wagner taken this is as the reference. Edward Schwartz's classification as a reference. He made a phenomena that this layer, upper layer, this seal is the continental layer. He says this is the continental layer, continental crust or the continental layer, and sema was the oceanic crust. He's taken the sema as the oceanic crust, and he says, Wagner says this is the most important phenomena. Seal is always floats on the sema. This seal is always floating on the sema. This was the phenomena was given by Wagner. That means the continents are always floating on the oceans. This was the phenomena which is based on the Edward Schwartz. So after, let's come to here again. After the breaking of the land masses, they were moved towards the westward and the northward direction. After the breaking of these continents, two continents are moving westward, some continents are moving the equatorward. So here at last we form whatever the Earth's structure which is present in right now. According to Wagner, this is the old structure present right now, and according to Wagner, after drifting of these two continents towards the westward movement, this was the cause due to the tidal force. The tidal force is caused for the tidal force is the reason for the westward. According to Wagner, tidal force is the responsible for the westward movement of these two continents. What are those? The Northern America and the Southern America. North America and the Southern America are the ones which are the moved towards the westward due to the tidal force. And again, these continents which are breaking from the Gondwana land, that is Africa, Peninsular India, Australia and the Antarctica. These are the, here we are observing the, in this map, Africa and Madagascar and the Peninsular India and Australia. These are moving, drifting towards the equator, and then they come to, and they are come and attack, eating the Eurasian landmass according to Wagner. So this is the second concept. How this, according to Wagner, how these the landmasses are formed due to that. First, there was a huge landmass, that is the Pangaea, which is surrounded by the superocean. That is the Panthalassa. The Pangaea is breaking into the two landmasses, Laurasia and the Angara. Laurasia, Angara and the Gondwana land. The Laurasia again divided into the North America and the Eurasia. The Gondwana land, which is the southern Pangaea, is the South America and the Africa, Peninsular India, Australia and the Antarctica. After that, due to the tidal force and the gravitational force, the North America and the South America are drifting towards the westward direction, and Africa, Peninsular India and the Australia and the Antarctica are not to Antarctica. These Africa, Peninsular India and Australia are started drifting towards the equatorward or the northward direction, where the equator, so they moved in that direction because of the gravitational force according to Wagner. After this, in this process, he also explained that Wagner also explained that when these continents, especially in the North America and the South America, when they are moving the westward direction, these continental boundaries are the continental crust boundaries are the crumpling, or they are the colliding with the oceanic crust. They are colliding with the oceanic crust of the Pacific Ocean, and they started forming a mountain range system. What are those? The Rockies and Andes. These are the two mountain ranges, huge mountain ranges are formed because of there was a crumbling between the continental crust and the oceanic crust. But here there is a fault. Why? Because this was the seal. This was actually seal according to Wagner. Seal is always floating on the seama, but here seal is crumbling with the seama. So this was the fault which we observed in his theory, Wagner's theory. And also not only Rockies and Andes, here we found the Atlas and the Alps and the Atlas. Alps and Atlas are formed because of the same theory. Again, the crumbling of the oceanic crust and the continental crust. Due to that, the emerging of these mountains was explained by Wagner. And the next one, this is the mountains which was explained by Wagner. And the next, in this phenomena again, he says the origin of, after mountain building, he also explained about the formation of the island arcs. Formation of the island arcs or festoons. Island arcs and festoons means which are a group of islands. So let's see here. We are after the drifting of the continents, some continents, for example, the Asian continent is moving towards the westward direction. When this is moving towards the westward direction. The western part of the eastern part of the Asian continent is not Asian continent landmass is not moving as fast as the westward as the west landmass. So that's why some parts of this Asian continent landmass are they are separated from the landmass, huge landmass, and they form the island arcs such as the Kuril, Falkland, Japan Islands. Here we are finding it. Like that, here we are observing them in the North America also. When the North America landmass is moving towards the westward, these landmasses, the landmass which is separated from it is not has that much of the phase, that much of the speed with this continent landmass. So they are the separated and they formed island arcs here. So this was again explained by this, and again he was also explained the formation of the oceans. Why oceans are formed? Again there was earlier there was only the Panthalassa. At the Panthalassa, after breaking them, then he explained about the only Tethys Sea. Later Tethys Sea is developed, and later where is the Tethys Sea right now? The Tethys Sea is right now present in between the Africa and Europe. That is the Mediterranean Sea. As the Mediterranean Sea. He explained like this. And the next one, when the continents are these continents are separating from these landmasses, then they formed a S-shaped ocean, that is the Atlantic Ocean. Forming of the Atlantic Ocean. And again here when when the southern Pangea forming the Africa and the peninsular range Australia, again here we observe the formation of the Indian Ocean. Because why these two landmass? This is the Indian landmass, which is the African landmass, and the Indian landmass. The water body which is presented between these areas is called as the Indian Ocean according to the Wagner. So how the mountains are the forming, how the oceans are the forming, how the islands are the forming are explained by our Wagner, the Wagner's theory. After this, the Wagner explained another concept, that is the Carboniferous glaciation. In the Carboniferous period, there was a glaciation occurred, which was also explained, which was the evidence for which is also the evidence for this one. So this is how the continents, how the mountains, how the oceans are formed due to the tidal force and the gravitational force was explained by the Wagner. Initially, there was a super continent mass body which is known as the supercontinent, that is the Pangea, and which is surrounded by a super ocean which is called as the Panthalassa. The Pangea during the Carboniferous period. He taken the Carboniferous period as a reference. Why? Because it is the period which formation of the coal deposits. Carbon is formed when the coal deposits are formed during the glaciation time, when the much of the water is flowing through the tropical vegetation, then only the forming of the coal deposits are happening. So he was a meteorologist, so he wants to know how these are forming. So he wants to take the reference as the Carboniferous period as the reference, and in this period the Pangea is breaking into the two pieces. The Pangea is breaking into the two pieces. The northern part we call as Laurasia, and the southern part we call as the Gondwana land. The Laurasia land is again broken into the two pieces. One is the North America, another one is the Eurasia, Europe plus Asia. And the southern Gondwana land is divided into so many pieces. One is the South America, other one is the Africa, Peninsular India, Australia, and the Antarctica. How these the, according to the Wagner, these are forming. After this, the mountains building, mountains are how Sial is crumbling with the Sima, then only forming the Rockies and the Andes, and here also Alps and the Atlas are formed. According to Wagner, these all are forming. Here, due to the westward movement, there was a water body is developed, that is the Atlantic Ocean, and here due to the moving of the Africa and the Peninsular India towards the northward direction, there was a water body developed, that is called as the Indian Ocean, and this was the remaining ocean body which is the present here, that is according to Wagner, that is the Pacific Ocean. The remaining Panthalassa. The Panthalassa is divided into the Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean. The Panthalassa is divided into the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, and the remaining part of the Panthalassa is the Pacific Ocean. Earlier we had the primitive form of the Panthalassa is the Pacific Ocean. The Tethys Sea, which was earlier, which was the right now as the Mediterranean Sea. Mediterranean Sea. And the some part of the Mediterranean Sea, Tethys Sea, the earlier Tethys Sea is developed into the Mediterranean Sea. Some part here we know we have Himalayas. Himalayas first form is the Tethys Sea is the first form of the Himalaya. First form of the Tethys Sea. So this is the all about the continental drift theory by Wagner. So is it right or wrong? We have to, whether it was a right or wrong, let's go through the some evidences. First, earlier we go to the some evidences. One of the evidences is the jigsaw fit. One of the evidence is the jigsaw fit. Jigsaw fit was the first evidence, which was the, according to Wagner, it was saying about the, if you observe the eastern coast, this was the Atlantic Ocean, this was the east boundary of the Atlantic Ocean, this was the west boundary of the Atlantic Ocean. If we fix these two, east coast and the west coast of the, if we fix east coast of the Atlantic Ocean and the west coast, that means the boundaries of the Africa and the South America, they can easily fix with each other like an jigsaw fit. And the next one, here we observe the North America. If you bring the North America here, it can easily fit here. So North America and the South America they can fit each other as like all the continents. Here India, here Australia, here Antarctica. These are fit roughly as much as correctly. So according to the Wagner, the jigsaw fit is the one of the evidence which these all continents are the exactly fitting each other. And the next another evidence is the rocks. This was the first evidence according to Wagner. This was the first evidence. Jigsaw fit was the first evidence, and the second was the geological evidences. So let's go through the geological. Especially in the geological evidences, we can find that rocks, which are the present in the rocks. Rocks are the mountains, which are the geological evidences for us. So the mountains which are present in the North America, especially the Drakensbergs, these are Appalachians in the North America. the Appalachians in the North America, and the some mountains which are present, the mountains which are present in the Ireland. Here we located, the map is very small. This was the Greenland, this was the Iceland. So the mountains in the Ireland, Wales, and in some Scandinavian countries, the rocks, the mountains which are having the similar properties. Here, the rocks, the mountains are the rocks which are present in the Appalachian Mountains in the Northern America, and in the Europe, the Norway, Sweden, in the Scandinavian countries, and the Wales and the Ireland. These mountains or the rocks have the similar properties, similar geological evidences they have. Here the Scandinavian mountains and the Appalachian mountains, which are have the similar type of the properties. So that means once they are the united each other, they are the separated right now. So like that only here in the Brazil, in the South America, in the Brazil, and the some parts of the Africa will also have the same type of the rocks. They have the same type of the properties. So these are the one of the evidence that the continents once upon a time they are the united. They right now they departed, they drifted away from the each other. So this was the one of the geological evidences. Next one is the distribution of the fossils. Fossils is also the one of the fossils, distribution of the fossils. The fossil deposits. Here we found especially the fossils. Especially in the fossils, we are finding that there was a small plant in the South America. A small plant which was presented here. Those evidences are collecting in this region, in the African region, and in the South American region. In the South American region, in the African region, in the Peninsular Indian region, Australia, and the Antarctica region. Because why? Because they are united during the time of the glaciation. They are once united. So, and here another one is there. That is there was a small animal, lemming. It is present in the Norwegian region. Here in the Norwegian region, they right now in the today also they wants to jump in the sea near here. Why? Because they wants to migrate towards the westward direction. In their ancient times, in their faster generations, they always migrated towards the westward direction. The thousands of the lemmings they are migrated from the Norway to the westward direction, westward plains. They think that right now there is also the huge landmass, so they want to go there, but there is no landmass right now. This is the one example for the continents were once united, they are drifted right now. And the next one is the pole distribution. Pole distribution. Pole distribution. The coal distribution. The coal mines actually presented in right now also presented in these areas. In the European countries right now there are the coal deposits. Generally the coal deposits are found when they are in the tropical conditions only. When the tropical vegetation is present, there only when we found the tropical vegetation, there only we can find the coal deposits. If the coal, the formation of the coal in the farm in the during the tropical areas only, but right now they are in the temperate regions. How they are forming? They have the huge coal deposits right now means, according to Wagner, once they are in the southern hemisphere, they started drifting towards the northern hemisphere. So when they are moving, once a period where the equator is passing like this. Equator right now, the present equator is moving like this. This was the present equator. During the Carboniferous period, again later the Cretaceous period, the continents are drifting. So when they are drifting in the once a time where the equator is passing through these continents, these European continents also, when they are passing that time, it will take the millions of years or the lakhs of years to move these areas. When they are moving from these areas, they under the tropical, at the time they have the tropical vegetation. The tropical vegetation is going under the huge water body, then forming of the coal deposits. This was the one of the example was given by the Wagner, which is the proof of the continents once are the united, they are drifted away right now. And the last one evidence is the glacial. The last evidence is the glacial evidences. What is the glacial evidences means? Once again Wagner, always the X, this was the North Pole, this was the South Pole, but always these two are not at the remain same place, not remain the same place at this place. The North Pole always shifting and the South Pole also shifting. They are all alternately, they are the shifting their places. According to Wagner, during the glacial Carboniferous glacial period, these all continents were once united. Once these all continents are united, especially in the southern Pangea, the South America, Africa, Malagasy, Peninsular India, and the Australia and Antarctica. The glacial evidences are finding in these areas. The glacial evidences which are presenting here. Because when the continents started drifting away from each other, the glaciers they are melting. When they are melting, they makes the rocks or the mountains at the huge erosion was occurring. When the huge erosion occurring, if we observe in our peninsular India also, we are finding the so many mountains which are eroded during the time of the glaciation. Why? Because they are presented in the glacier. Once they are the glaciers here in these areas, in the southern India also, in the peninsular India also, we have the glaciers, huge glaciers. They are caused for the erosion of these mountains. This is the one of the evidences for the. Why? Because once they are united, so that's why there are the huge ice sheets were there on their surfaces. When they are moving the drifting, the temperature increases, they are started melting and they started erosion of the mountains and the rocks which are present on their surface. This was the one of the evidences. So these all are the evidences which proves that the continents are once united, they are right now drifted. What are those? Again, what are those? They are, the first one is the jigsaw fit. Lastly, one evidence is remaining, that is the paleomagnetic. paleomagnetic evidences is the one of the branch of the geography which was the most important nowadays, because it giving the proper evidences for the studying of the rocks and the interior of the earth, the minerals which are present in the earth. The paleomagnetic evidences are the one. The paleomagnetic evidences means if the earth, if this is the earth, this is the north pole and the south pole. When the lava, when the volcano is burst out, otherwise when and the magma is coming up when the forming of the rocks, when the time of the forming of the rocks, the rocks have some minerals, some metallic minerals. They will also have the north pole and the south pole, because they are the minerals, so they will have the magnetic properties. So generally they also have the north pole and south pole. Generally in the phenomena, the north pole attracts south pole and south pole attracts north pole. Here at the poles, the south poles are all attracting in the perpendicular direction. They wants to join they wants to attack the north pole of the earth. What are the rocks which have the rocks? South pole always attracts towards the north pole of the earth, so they always try to attack in the perpendicular direction they always attack in the perpendicular direction at the poles. They are always in the south pole also. North pole also directly try to attack in the south pole of the earth. So here is also we can find the intensity of the minerals, intensity of the magnetic waves in perpendicular direction here also, in the here also. In the equator world, only in the equator, they are the parallel in the, why? Because here the intensity is more, they wants to attack on the north pole, so those are the perpendicular in the direction. South pole also, the north pole is trying to attack in the south pole, so that's why they are in the perpendicular direction. At the equator, they don't have that much of the intensity as the poles as the north pole and the south pole, so they are always here the parallel in the direction at the equator. But here the geographers and the geologists observed that there was the reverse properties in this, because that somewhere north pole and the south pole, and the south pole and the north pole, and these properties and the reverse properties are observing. So that's why they confirmed that once the poles are the one which are shifting, because due to the lifting of the continents, the mass is appearing, the mass is moving towards. Right now the mass of the earth is the huge mass is present in the northern hemisphere right now. All the continents, major land mass is present in the northern hemisphere. The most water body is present in the southern hemisphere right now. But during the time of the Carboniferous, there was a huge landmass was present here, the Pangea, and the remaining was the water body. So when the continental mass is moving towards in the westward direction, in the northward direction, in any direction, the gravitational forces, due to the gravitational forces, the magnetic property of the earth and the poles also, the shifting, they are also moving in different directions. When they are moving, the formation of the rocks have their own properties for the formation of the rocks. So this was the paleomagnetic evidences. So these are the evidences which are explained about the continental drift theory. So here we found that some faults in continental drift theory. The faults are nothing but some criticism, or the faults are there, demerits, we can say. Drawbacks, demerits of this theory. First proof is the what, that is the jigsaw fit. Jigsaw fit was the some more roughly acceptable, but as much as perfect, it is not perfect as much as, because only the west coast of Africa and the east coast of Southern America are the South America are the only the joining. The remaining parts of the some more islands, these are not fitting in this jigsaw fit. This was the one of the drawback for our Wagner's theory, continental drift theory. The major flaw for the Wagner was, he said that Seal always floats on the Sima. He says that Seal is always floats on the Sima. But if we have observed here, if you observe it is the North America, it's a South America. When they are moving towards the westward direction due to the tidal forces, they are started originating the fused mountains such as the Rockies and the Andes. So, according to Wagner, earlier said that the Seal always floating on the Sima. This was the Sima because of oceanic crust. This was the continental crust. So, it was the Seal. So, Seal is always floating on the Sima. But Wagner says that due to the crumbling is there and there was some friction is there. They are without friction they are moving. But here with friction, with crumbling, they are forming they are folding. This continental crust is like their mountains are the folding and forming of these mountains, the Rockies and the Andes. But here earlier he said that Seal always floating on the Sima, floating on the Slima. But it was wrong. Why? Because they are not floating, they are crumbling with each other. So it is one of the drawback for our Wagner's theory. And the other one is the forces which are, he explained about the tidal force and gravitational force. So these forces, the tidal force due to the short distance which is made by the moon, sun, the distance between the earth and due to the moon during the Amavasya and the Purnima, there the moon is coming near to the earth during this time, and some Apaheli Pariheli time, the sun is coming to near. These are the forces, according to Wagner, these are the forces which are caused for the tidal force. The tidal force are the one which are the cause for the westward movement of the North America and the South America. But these forces is not enough for the movement of the drifting of the continents. This is not enough. If that is enough, the earth is not stable. So next, the gravitational force. The gravitational force are the force of buoyancy. The buoyancy is the force which is the one which cause for the northward movement of the continents. This force is also not enough for the movement of the continents in the northward direction. So this was also the second Wagner's fault, that the tidal force and the gravitational force, those are not enough for the moving of the drifting of the continents. And the last one in the Wagner's theory, he said that the direction, he did not say what was the direction and the time and the speed of the moving of the continents, because let's see, he did not say the direction. proper direction, because the reasons for the proper direction, because why? Because the so he did not explain why these two continents are formed, are drifting towards the westward direction only. The North America and the South America, why these two are the moving towards the westward direction? Due to the tidal force. Why? Because the remaining all continents are moving towards the equatorward direction, but only these two continents are moving this direction. And he did not explain that when these continents are to separate, these two continents, especially in the northern Laurasia, we observe that Eurasia and the North America, when the time period where they are broken into these two pieces, and again the Africa and the peninsular India and the Australia and the Antarctica, how when these all the continents are they are broken into divided into the many pieces. He did not explain the time and which direction they are moving in the direction, why they are moving in that direction. He did not explain, and this was the one of the fault. He did not explain the direction and the time. So this is the one of the fault, and these are all the limitations for his theory. So hence this theory was said that wrong theory. The later it was proved that it was the wrong theory, because the forces which are caused for the movement of the continents is not the tidal force, it's not the gravitational force. And the later which the theory which is came into existence, that is the plate tectonics. The proper theory or the grand theory, plate tectonics explains that the convectional currents are the currents which are present in the below of the surface of the earth are the one which causes for the movement of the plates. Again the mountains are forming not due to the colliding of the Sima, and it was the totally plates colliding the plates, which was later explained by the plate tectonics in the 1960s era. So this was the continental drift theory. I think you should understand. The continental drift theory was given by the Professor Alfred Wegener in his book Der Unterstehung der Kontinente and Ozeane in the German language. Later he given the continental drift theory in the year 1912, and later it was developed in the year of 1924. It is translated into the English book to English. So then only this came into the light, and this theory explains about the formation of the how once there was a huge continent was there, that Wegener named of the Pangea. The Pangea is broken in, and there was the super ocean which is surrounded that is the Panthalassa. The Pangea is broken into the two pieces. One is the northern part and the southern part. Northern part is called as the Laurasia, Angara, and southern part is called as the Gondwana land. Again, Laurasia is divided into the two pieces, North America and the Eurasia, and southern part is divided into the some continental masses such as South America, Africa, Malagasy. Malagasy is nothing but Madagascar, Peninsular India, and Australia and the Antarctica. So these are all the continents which are formed during that time. After that, he explained about the two forces. One is the tidal force, and the other one is the gravitational force. Tidal force is the one which causes for the westward drifting of the continents, North America and the South America, and the gravitational force and the force of buoyancy, which are caused the drifting of the continents towards the equatorward or the northward in the direction. So these are like that the earth structure is observing today. And he explains about the mountain building. He explains about the formation of the island rocks and the carboniferous glaciation, and how the forces are working. He explains like that, and there some limitations are there. The forces are not enough, and the the jets of it is not good as much as perfect. So this was the continental drift theory. So this theory was the wrong, somewhere the wrong, but this was the concept. First concept was explained about the motion, explained of the moving or the motion of the continents. Continents are moving, as this concept is firstly given by in the early 90s, in early 1900s is given by only Wagner only. This was the theory which led to the remaining scientists and the geographers and the geologists and the meteorologists the think towards the constant continents are not stable. The continents are not stable. They are always drifting. They are also always moving away from each other, and which later developed towards the seafloor spreading theory and many other theories, and finally finally gave rise to the grand theory, which is right now acceptable, that is the plate tectonic theory. Okay, I think you are getting this lecture. Thank you very much.